Well, what's going on, everybody? Curtis Wilkerson with HawgSports.com coming to you live from Bud Walton Arena just after another media availability for men's basketball. Got to watch practice, got to have another press conference. You see, they left the lights on for me here at Bud Walton, so I had to come out here and do a live reaction from Bud. I can't wait until November to get back in this gym. Very, very cool day once again. Big time power move by Eric Musselman to let us come back out and view a second practice in a week. It's just really good for us. I think it gives us the opportunity to get a better feel for this team and be able to paint a more clear picture for those of you at home who are dying to know about this exciting Arkansas Razorbacks basketball team. So kudos to Muss for doing that. There's just something about him that seems a little bit different this year so far. He's kind of got this calm, quiet confidence about him. I think he knows that he's got a good team. Obviously, you got to get out there on the court. Things have to fall the right way, but I think he knows that the talent and the pieces are all there. And I think it permeates in the way that he's been talking so far about this group. Very cool. They're putting on some of the finishing touches as they prepare for this overseas trip to Europe. They leave on Saturday, 4 games in Spain and Italy. Exhibition, don't count on the win-loss record, but it's different competition. It's the opportunity to see these guys in action. It's really what everybody's been waiting for and what this entire summer's been building up for, in terms of basketball. We got football camp starting in a couple days, but basketball is still in the spotlight, man. So exciting times. We were able to see an hour of practice today. It was very different really from what we got to take in last week. Last week was a lot more live action, controlled scrimmage. Today was a lot more attention to detail, drill work, focusing on defensive coverages, all the attention to detail, the focus, and just really they seem like they're in fine-tuning mode as we come up on this trip. These guys have been getting after it for 8 weeks. Only 4 hours per week were allowed on court, and then they got to move to the NCAA allowed 10 practices. I think today might have been the 8th that they completed. These guys have been beating the hell out of each other for a long time. I think they're ready to do it to somebody else. They're game ready. They look like they're locked in, focused, and even though it's an exhibition tour, they're ready to get out there and play somebody. So I think that's one thing that stood out about the day. Like I said, a lot of work on defensive coverages, a lot of work through their sets, 5-on-0, some situational segments that we'll talk about in a minute, and then a lot of shooting were kind of areas of emphasis today. After seeing this team twice now over the course of the last week, you start to get a better feel for what they've got going on, and I think ahead to these 4 games in Europe, offensively, I think this is an Arkansas team that's going to play fast anyway, but they have to under FIBA rules. Once again, they were using those FIBA balls, practicing, they've got the 24-second shot clock, their goaltending is allowed, all those things that they're working on a little bit, not putting too much of an emphasis on it because this is all part of the bigger picture, bigger sample size is the season, right? And this is what they're preparing for, but still working on some of those things, but with 24-second shot clock, you got to get out and go. So you saw them working a lot on some 5-on-0 sets, getting out in transition in their open offense. I think they're going to play really fast in Europe, and that's exciting because this is a team that can get out and go. They're athletic. They have playmakers in the open floor. I think you're going to see a lot of that. They're going to push the pace. They're going to get into some quick hitters and try to get some easy baskets. I do think as a team that's really going to be aggressive, attacking the rim, getting into the teeth of the defense, and hey, they got some guys who can go up and finish in there. You're seeing them drop off to some of their big men, Mikal Mitchell, Trevin Brazil. Those guys can catch those dump offs and finish them. And you also see them spray out for maybe some high percentage looks from 3. I think that's what you're going to see. That might be the DNA of this team offensively. And on the defensive end, we talked about it. The defense has been ahead of the offense. They're so long, so athletic. Well, what do I want to see from this group in Europe? Well, how are they going to defend different actions when they're not scouting? They don't know that much about their opponents. They're not doing full scouting reports especially to the detail and the level that Musselman will do during the regular season. So how are they going to defend things they haven't seen before? They spend a lot of time working on hard shows and recovers off ball screens. I imagine they'll double some, they'll switch some. But at the end of the day, I think what you're going to see is an Arkansas team that's going to use its strengths to create havoc. They're long. They're athletic. I think they're going to be overwhelming with pressure. I think they're going to get out in the passing lanes and try to generate some deflections, some turnovers, and fuel the offense in transition. should be exciting to see, and I think you can afford to gamble a little bit on the perimeter and on the wings because you have that back line of defense. You've got 4 guys who can really protect the rim at a high level in terms of being shot blockers. So just really looking forward to seeing these guys play. Some things that stood out today, first of all, was someone who wasn't there. Nick Smith Jr., well, he was there, but he wasn't on the floor as a full participant in practice, dealing with what Eric Musselman described as a deep bone bruise in his left index finger. Listed him as day-to-day. Like I said, he was there. He wasn't live action in practice with the team, but he was off on the side. He was running sprints, doing conditioning. He was doing some form shooting. He was doing a lot of ball handling work. So it didn't strike me as a big deal or debilitating deal. He said he may or may not play on this trip to Europe. I think he will. But at the end of the day, again, these games don't count. And so when you've got a player like that, a talent like that, if there's any question about his health, maybe you err on the side of caution. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully you get to see him out there. We don't want to wait until November, right? We're ready to see this guy in action. Could be the future #1 pick. But nursing an injury, what I would qualify as minor. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about that. Other things, I talked about the situational drills. Arkansas didn't do a lot of live 5-on-5, but they did get into some segments where Musselman would say, all right, White is up by 2 or up by 1. They're at the free throw line. There's 18 seconds left. Play it out. Or they'd reverse it. Or it would be a 1-point game with the ball in the deep corner with 9 seconds left and you're inbounding. So they would do some things like that just to kind of test these guys to handle crunch time situations. Play with the lead, play from behind. What are you going to do? A couple guys that really stood out to me there, Devo Davis and Jordan Walsh. Devo Davis, I thought, did a really nice job in those segments 2 times of getting the ball after a made basket, pushing it hard in transition. The clock is running down there, but he did a really nice job of pushing the pace, getting into the teeth of the defense. One time, you saw him draw help. He kicked out to Ricky Council, who would have had an opportunity for a go-ahead jumper, missed the jumper, but it was a great play by Devo. The next time, he was able to get his way into the lane once again. This time he dumped it off to Mekhi Mitchell, who finished a game-tying shot with about 8 seconds left. Really good stuff by Devo there. I think he's earned the trust. There's nothing this guy hasn't seen before after being the 2 Elite Eights, and I think you start to see that experience and that veteran leadership pay off in situations like that, and that's why I think he's going to be such a key part to this team. Jordan Walsh, I thought, looked really good today. He was active, energetic. You started to see how that length and athleticism can be disruptive. In the first situational segment, his team was down. They actually missed the shot, but he followed up with a putback to tie the game. It was a big play, being aggressive and using his athleticism to attack the offensive glass. From there, another play, his team was actually winning by 2. The ball was inbound in the corner. It was dumped inside to Mekhi Mitchell. Well, he fished it out of there, caused a deflection. He wound up getting the loose ball and going coast to coast and hammering it with a dunk. Kind of the exclamation point of the day, in my opinion. It was a great play. And so you're starting to see that 5-star talent start to show some of those signs of what he's capable of doing. Was really impressed with those 2 guys. They did the perfect free throw drill. Musselman's talked about this drill before. It's designed really to get these guys comfortable shooting free throws under pressure and while you're fatigued. And so it's kind of an around-the-world deal. You've got guys at all 6 baskets, and you're going 1 at a time, trying to make 8 in a row. And so there's some pressure involved with that. If you miss 2 in a row, the team has to do push-ups. And when they had to do push-ups, and there were a lot of them today, Musselman and the whole coaching staff got down there and did it with them. But guys that I thought really rose to the occasion there with the free throws, Ricky Council, the guy is nails. Absolute nails. He shot 85% at Wichita State. I think he's going to do that again. Man, it's just a repeatable release. He's barely catching iron. Really, I think he's going to be one of those guys that they want the ball in his hands at the end of the games, along with Nick Smith and maybe some others. But he's one that's proven that he can convert for you at the line. And a couple others, the twins. And I know you're thinking, wait, we're talking about free throws and the Mitchell twins. Those guys both shot about 50% from the line last year. You're right, they did, but they shot a lot better than 50% today. They look way more comfortable. And Musselman's kind of got a track record of getting guys who have maybe struggled some at the stripe to improve significantly, and Arkansas needs that because this is a team, we don't know how much of a volume 3-point shooting team they're going to be, but man, they've got some guys who can really attack, put pressure on the rim. I think they're going to draw free throws at a high rate again, like they did last year. That's a big part of Eric Musselman's offense. They got to be able to go up there and knock them down and convert. I thought we saw good signs from the twins in that regard today. And then they did the Warrior drill, which is a full court shooting drill, essentially, where you got a rim runner who's going to go in for a layup. You got two guys on the wings getting perimeter jumpers, guys who I thought shot it particularly well. Darian Ford again, really shooting it well in drill work. If he can get that release a little bit more fluid and a little bit more consistent in live action, there's some room, some potential there with him as a jump shooter. And that's maybe not necessarily a strength of his game that you thought coming in. Jordan Walsh. Hey, listen, we talked about his length and athleticism. Eric Musselman's mentioned him as a guy that needs to help them shooting it from three. I thought he shot it really well today. He talked about in the press conference afterwards that he's put in a lot of work and a lot of reps. If he's a guy that becomes a consistent threat, Arkansas becomes really dangerous, and so does he. Okay, Trevin Brazil, and I hadn't seen him shooting it particularly well from three. I've only been at 2 practices now, but he caught fire in that Warrior drill for a while today, and it's like, okay, there it is. There's a 6'10" guy with a 7'4" wingspan that can stroke it from three. It's a long release for a long player, but man, when he catches fire, he can really knock it down, and that stretch four is something that Arkansas has really been looking for. And then lastly, Joseph Pinion, a guy who is known for his shooting. He's got such a quick and repeatable release, can really fill it up there as well. So that was exciting, and now all we have to look forward to is what's going on in Europe. Those guys leave on Saturday morning. They'll arrive in Spain. They've got 4 games. So what are we looking for? A lot of people think, well, what about the rotations? Is Musselman going to stick to 7 and 8 like he has in the past? Is he going to expand it? Well, you're going to have to take some of it with a grain of salt, right? Because he said everybody plays in Europe. When you take a trip like that, you want everybody to get an opportunity. And it's so early, you don't necessarily know who belongs and who doesn't in terms of your rotation yet. Some guys are great practice players that don't perform in the game, right? And then the inverse is true, where some guys might not be too good in practice, but they really shine brightest when the lights are on in the arena. So you got to give guys opportunities. So I think you'll see a lot of that. Another thing he said, guys who haven't passed the mile testing, the mile run testing, or guys who maybe have been disciplined, kicked out of practice or lack of effort or whatever, well, they're not eligible to start, at least the first game overseas. So my suggestion and what I'm going to do is maybe pay a little bit less attention to who starts and who's in the early mix, and maybe pay closer attention to who finishes. Okay? Especially if Arkansas is in tight games, because when that happens, whether the wins or losses count at the end of the day. Listen, when you're in crunch time, you're trying to win games, and so it's just natural to defer to the guys that you trust. And I think you might be able to get a more clear idea of things there. Now, that would involve them playing a close game. We don't know. We don't know for sure what that's going to look like. They're going to be playing grown men. It's a collection of all-star teams, professional teams. There's a group from Denmark that I've heard was really good in their league last year. So it's kind of hard to get a gauge for how they are. I mean, you saw Auburn on SEC Network. They played the Israeli U20 team, and it's a national team. They beat the brakes off of them by about 60. Great lessons to be learned from those games, but maybe not necessarily the adversity that comes with playing in crunch time. We'll see if Arkansas gets challenged. I'm excited to find out. But, in terms of what I've seen so far, if I was to have to pick my own starting 5, I would probably go Nick Smith and Anthony Black in the backcourt. After what I saw from Devo Davis today, I think I give him the nod early. Like I said, that experience and that trust factor, that matters until these guys get comfortable playing with each other. I think you might have some other guys who are really going to push for that down the line. But right now, I just think that's too valuable for you not to have out there. So him on the wing, all 3 of those guys are capable of playing with the ball in their hands. And then Trevin Brazil, like I said, Arkansas has been missing that stretch 4. I really like him in that spot. And I might go with Mikal Mitchell. And that center spot has been so interesting, in terms of how they're going to fill it. There's a lot of options there, but I've been impressed with what I've seen from Mikal. I thought he really stood out to me today with the way he communicated and just kind of took control of the defense, directing traffic. He has a loud voice on the back end there, and I really like what I saw out of him. And then listen, maybe my next 3 off the bench there, I think Mikal Mitchell, I think those 2 guys may be 1A and 1B there at that center spot based on what I've seen. And then, listen, Jordan Walsh and Ricky Council, you could start those guys and you'd be just fine. They're going to play. They're going to play big roles. So maybe that would be my top 8 as of right now. So, like I said, not much known about the competition. We'll see. but I'm excited about it. You can watch it too if you want. Okay, it's live stream. For those of you who are familiar with Flow Sports from baseball, this is Flow Hoops. It's the same thing, $29.99 for the subscription, but gives you the opportunity to get a glance at this team that everybody's been excited about having the opportunity to watch. They start on Tuesday against Valencia Selección. We'll see how those guys are. That's at 12:30 Central Time. All these games are going to be mid-afternoon. So if you can hop on there and catch the stream, do it. If not, they're also going to be on demand, available for you to go back and watch later if you want to, or we're going to have you covered over at HawgSports.com. Previews, live updates, post-game recaps and analysis, and when we wrap this entire thing up, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to jump back on here and do a full traditional Hog Hoops Live episode, take a bunch of your questions. We'll do a full European tour set of player grades. So we're excited about it. We're treating it like it's the regular season because this is a team that many people think is capable of getting Arkansas back to the Final Four. They're certainly talented enough, and we finally get our first real peek at them against somebody else coming up here in less than a week. It's an exciting time. Appreciate you guys joining me again today. Hope this tied you over with a little bit of a view of Bud Walton Arena. We will catch you very soon. Again, this has been Curtis Wilkerson with Hog Sports. You guys have a great day.